Daniel, but Dano is like more...
Yeah, if you're mad at me, you can call me Daniel. That's
like
how
Dano.
I know.
It actually makes people want to talk to you.
Yeah,
I get
exactly.
it.
Well, now you're here talking to me.
Yeah.
So I just saw real life Amy meet a lot of the actors for the very first time, and I couldn't really hear what they're saying, but I could feel like the emotional weight. So I don't know, for you, what was it like? Taking your cues from her. I know she was on set with you. And what maybe did she teach you about the character that you don't usually get on other films?
She was so great with me because she taught me a lot about her compassion and her empathy and humanity. One of the very first conversations I had with her is I asked her why she worked as a night nurse, and she said she wanted her girls, she was a stay-at-home mom, to feel or to think that they had... Sorry, she was a single mom. She wanted her girls to think that they had a stay-at-home mom.
Right.
So she worked all night long, taking care of others at the hospital. She'd come home and go do the grocery shopping and the housework while her kids were at school, and then take care of them when they were out of school. So she was really at no moment taking care of herself. And I learned a lot about that from actually talking to her.
Dave, your character in this movie is in a band.
Yes.
Alison, in real life, you're in a band, The Girls.
That's right.
Did your husband, for character research, ever pick your brain about that?
No. He
Well,
didn't.
I'm more of a guitarist, and you're more of a singer.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. I actually remember that early in our relationship, you played the guitar for me.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Sensitive guitar player.
Played a little Ray
We don't
Lewis
need
tape.
to say what.
Nice shirt.
Okay. Thank you. This is my formal Hawaiian
Thank you
shirt.
very much.
This is the one I wear to synagogue,
Very good. Yeah, excellent.
So this movie is quite possibly the biggest resume booster ever. You're an action star, comedy, romance, all of that. How fun was it to just put on all those hats?
Dude, it was one of the things that I loved about getting to do the film. Every day I was getting to either do a fight scene or a song and dance number or just a comedy with Rainn Wilson or Evan or whoever. So yeah, it was just like reading this. You just go, oh, this will be really fun. Like to make this will be really fun.
So this is a lot of things don't really happen, and it's a parody. Spoiler alert, but. The thing that does feel true to a biopic is you're actually performing these Weird Al songs on stage in the costumes and set design that he actually has in his music videos, performances. What was your favorite to do, and was Al on set directing you
Al
at all?
was on set every day. He wasn't direct. He would come in with notes very occasionally, mostly about musical stuff that we were doing. But most of the time, I think honestly my favorite one was either I Love Rocky Road, because I was never in a band growing up, and I sort of got to live out that fantasy during that scene a bit. But also the
rowdy in that scene.
Yeah, exactly. But the Like a Surgeon scene as well was just like a really fun, silly dance number to learn and get to do. So that was really enjoyable as well.
So you said you're never in a band growing up. Do you have any musical inclinations ever?
Not now. No, the world doesn't need music from me. It's not good. It wouldn't be good.
So I know Weird Al has done Star Wars parodies, all that. Have you convinced him, do a Harry Potter song? Come on, man.
I haven't. I'm almost surprised it hasn't happened anyway, just because, I guess Potter does feel like it's pretty rich ground for parody. But I guess not yet. But, I'll slip a word in.
Well, maybe one day. So last question is, what is your favorite Weird Al song ever that's not in the movie? Maybe the deep cut.
It's not the deepest cut, but there's a song called Bob, which is like
Palindrome.
the Palindrome song.
That's what Tommy said too.
Oh, sorry, I saw that.
Strike that from the
yeah,
record.
strike the
guys.
record. I just. Oh yeah, okay. I didn't even get through the whole word, so it's fine. All right.
This is a family-friendly program here.
Sorry. But
Weird Al doesn't swear.
He doesn't.
Yeah,
I know. It's true. I do, unfortunately. I grew up on film sets, so I swear like a sailor.
You're English.
And I'm English, so it's charming when I do it.
Right.
But no, it's Bob. Yeah, it's just so clever and brilliant and catchy, and I like to memorize weird, complicated things, so that's on the list.
I know you are loath to psychoanalyze a lot of your characters, so allow me, I'll say an assessment of this character and maybe characters in the past. I'm curious to what you have to say about it. So, you've worked with a lot of directors like Del Toro, Quentin Tarantino, Robert Rodriguez. You're in Bond films, and now with Luc Besson. I think they all have this sensibility where they're very inspired by genre movies, by B movies, that they retool to make maybe thematically more heavy, but still fun and over the top. And in those films, including this one, you often play smartest guy in the room. People are looking to you for your expertise and talent. So I was wondering if A, you agree with this, and B, is this a type of character that you're drawn to, and in a universe that you're drawn to? You know, all these directors, very different, but are all like fun in the same way. And Tim Burton, I'll add to that list as well.
Yes, all of the above. I am drawn to these people because I find their perspective, first of all, very personal to each individual. And that's something that I would like to continue to work with different people, and not just one kind, and that directors who require a repetition of what I've done before, but people who are open to exploring new material and new ways of depicting and exploring in reverse order a character that helps them tell a specific story. Yes, the characters are usually within my range. I do wish that I could expand that range a little bit, but it's not up to me. I could then go to Robert Rodriguez and say, can we make this character such and such? And then he would say, maybe we could, but that would be a different movie. Thank you very much. This is what I'm offering you for a specific reason. That's the eternal question of typecasting. Is typecasting fulfilling for the actor? Depends on the role at hand. In terms of story, I've been asked before, how come you appear in historical movies so much? Well, I don't really. It just happens that last year I did 2 in a row. Okay, so why are historical movies so attractive right now? Because they don't contain cell phones. Cell phones kill a story. Okay, so it is a lot more interesting for the drama to not have a constant exchange digitally over the phone with other characters. But that's just one aspect. The historical movies usually concern themselves with eternal human questions, and the distance that is established through history helps us as an audience to engage without prejudice and reservations, I think. So have we covered all your questions? Because there was a whole row of questions.
I think so. I think you got it. And I agree. The movie would be a lot worse if, all he had to do was send a text message from the Transylvanian castle, back home saying, Dracula's coming.
Right. Exactly. Well, there you go.
So this is like the ultimate postmodern absurd novel. You're known for making grounded family dramas, but at the same time, this is about a family, right? So what are maybe the overlaps with this movie and the rest of your filmography? What's new? What's maybe off-brand? And if you could just maybe expound on that.
Well, I think what you said. I think it is about a family, and about a family. The gap between what we say and what we mean, or what we say and what we feel, or what we think about ourselves and who we really are. I mean, those are things I think I've explored in a lot of my movies. Family mythologies is something that I think are in a lot of my movies too. The things that we tell ourselves about, parents tell their children, and children have to unlearn them later. And in this case, you have all of that, but then you also have family. I think in some ways is a microcosm of the culture. Mm-hmm. You have, that line, "Family's the cradle of the world's misinformation." You have, essentially the kids spouting facts and saying things that we don't know if they're real or not. And after a while, I think you kind of lose track within yourselves, and you create your own facts. And I think that's something that's both true of a family and something we see is also true of the American culture at large.
You've laid out your acting credo before, which is very focused on looking and listening. And I can't think of like a profession that does that more than a therapist, which is what you play in this film. And not drawing from past personal experiences to use, in the moment, which is something else you believe an actor should do. So tell me about, with that in mind, that look and listen philosophy in mind, playing this very specific role.
I've had therapy in my life a bunch of times. I've always likened it to a masseuse. They're both, if they're good, they make you feel better. But I also feel like that for most of us, it's an indulgence. If we can afford it, it's a great thing to do. It's a safe place to say things out loud. And that's interesting. You would say really looking and really listening. I think sometimes therapists are not good at that. And I've had them.
Yeah. And for the record, I did have a rolly backpack to school for about 1 year. It didn't last. It didn't last very long.
You know what I did when I was in high school? Believe it or not, wearing white socks was the equivalent of putting a gun in your mouth and pulling the trigger. It was social suicide. And I remember the day I was in the Boy Scouts, and I had these cool sort of moccasins, and I loved to wear those moccasins. You had to wear white socks. That's what it was supposed to be. I went to school that way. I'm really proud of that day. I wore white socks to school.
Hi, Rebel. Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to see you.
So obviously you're in another Bride-related film. So did the character of Bryn ever cross your mind playing this role? Or is this a totally different?
It's kind of totally different. I mean, in this one I play an operative. I'm kind of a badass. But I think I've done like 4 wedding movies or something. And I think wedding movies are just fun because it's like a melting point and lots of characters come into it. But but I like my character I play in this one because she's really badass.
Excited for the 5th wedding movie after this, maybe? You never
know. Maybe, I played a bride. I've now played a maid of honor. I played a sister. Yeah, like, I don't know. Everyone loves a wedding movie.
Had like friends and family hit you up to cook food for them?
I did. So it was after the pilot, but before we did the series. And my brother-in-law, I was having a birthday dinner, and my wife said I would cook for the birthday dinner. And I was like, great. I didn't know it was for 15 people. I had never cooked. I think I'd cooked for like 4 people max. And I was a mess like the whole time. And it turned out like fine. It could have been better. But yeah, so we had a dinner for 15 that I cooked on my own.
So what was more stressful, anxiety-inducing, that or prepping for the show?
I think that.
Would you at all describe this as inspirational or heroic, I guess, on the detective side, like the rest of, like the way Apollo 13's heroic, or this is different?
Cautionary tale. It's just tragic, and of course there are elements of heroism. There's a reminder of the power of family. There's a reminder of the power of faith within this story. But fundamentally, this is a very tragic story.
This is your first ever English language feature. Is this a total departure, or are we bringing any Dogma 95 to the U.S. at all, or is it a bit of a mix, or how would you describe it?
Well, I would say that, I'm always proudly on the shoulders of Dogma, but Dogma is always proudly on the shoulders of Cassavetes. Okay. So, it's a circle. I think I'm bringing some Bergman to the table, and some Fincher, and some 70s great movie making, like, I'm on the shoulders of Clute. I'm on the shoulders of Kramer versus Kramer, so I definitely feel that it's the naturalism that I bring but I'm not sure it's all Scandinavian. I even would say that there's a lot of Korean naturalism out there that I am inspired by.
Like what Korean?
Well, if you look at both director Bong and director Park, they're both in that world. There's always a ghost, but it is in the world we live in, and I think that's basically, I want to try to ground the stories so they connect with the audience in the world we already know.
Did you get to see Decision to Leave? I know you just brought up Park.
I did not yet, but I am very much looking forard to it.
Unrelated, you brought up Cassavetes. What are your thoughts on Killing of a Chinese Bookie?
Well, I saw Killing of a Chinese Bookie in two versions.
Okay.
There's the Criterion version where the opening is Cassavetes, and then there is the original version. And I actually have to say that the producer's version of that one is better. That's just a better opening.
Agree to disagree on that.
Is that right? I think it's a little messy, but still I love it,
Yeah. I always say more is better, but, maybe you're more discerning as a director. In one room, you and another person, and, you're not in Hogwarts, you're not in a big set or anything like that. What's that like as an actor? Is that like a new challenge or,
Yeah, you're right. I think that's the thing that sort of frightened us more than anything. Just thinking we have to make this so dramatic and so interesting and dynamic and fascinating and pleasurable and funny and touching and painful and all of these things, and it has to hold the audience. If it doesn't hold the audience, there's one single moment when the audience goes, you know what? Did I leave the oven on? It's over.
One of the scenes that stuck out the most is they're broadcasting an address from Putin to the school where he's thanking the teachers above the soldiers, which to me is unimaginable. Like, I couldn't imagine that being done in the United States, thanking the teachers for a war effort. But that seems to really be the core of it. You talked about the onslaught of propaganda, and I watched 90 minutes of the film. You've seen, presumably hundreds of hours, behind the scenes of what was going on in the school. So what did you learn, personally about, almost like being a fly in the wall in the school for hundreds and hundreds of hours, seeing how it functions, the teachers, the students? What was surprising to you, and what perspective did you gain on, I guess that the root cause of this evil, as you say?
Yeah, I'll say two things. There's so much, but I'll just start with two. One is that terrible things like a genocidal, terrible war in Ukraine, a totalitarian government or rapidly kind of consolidating totalitarian regime in Russia is not necessarily created by fanatics. It's not created by people like the history teacher Abdulmanov, who just loves being a propagandist and idolizes the biggest butchers of Russian history. It's created by people protecting themselves. It's created by people who are too scared to do anything. It's created by people who are taking the most convenient course of action. No one in that town seems to really believe the propaganda. They just seem to be really cynical.
Very indelible images of, this beautiful landscape. You have this beautiful tableau of, oil derricks, and it almost feels like a Western, which you don't usually see mixed with comedies, which is what this is. And I was, wondering how, as a director and a creative, you got these images in your head and brought them to life, and then put, a comedy right in front of it, which, you typically don't see.
Thank you. I wanted it to be a world that an unlikely person was in. So, on one level, I would compare it to one type of Coen Brothers movie turns into the other type of Coen Brothers movie.
Right.
It's inspiring to me that No Country for Old Men and True Grit were made by the same people who made Fargo and Big Lebowski. It shows that, those voices, they have some link. And could I find that link and make it work? So that was an inspiration.
Okay, so you play an accountant. I don't know a ton of funny accountants.
That's what it
Are
was?
you Jerry's accountant? Yeah, okay, good. I don't know if my research was wrong.
You're right.
Okay, woo, yeah. So he plays accountant. It's not associated typically with the funniest people on earth. I was wondering how you, or am I wrong here?
I don't know.
So how do you bring humor and heart to this role, that's
Well, I will
punch a
say
number.
that Jack Lemmon kind of played that part in The Apartment, and he was pretty funny if I think about it.
Corniest sources of inspirations for songs, that you only see in movies. But in real life, did you ever have a song that just came to you like that as it did in a movie?
A couple times. I mean, a lot of times when I write a song, it's a matter of me thinking about something for a long period of time. But I like Fat was something that came to me immediately, because I remember I was watching the Michael Jackson Bad video on TV, like the world premiere, and I immediately thought, Fat. Like, they're walking through the turnstiles in the subway. Like, what if this guy was like 900 pounds and couldn't get through the turnstiles? And before the video was over, I had a concept for the video.
And you're like, give me a pencil and pad right now.
But that's the exception to the rule. Usually it's like me thinking about it, like, what are the variations on a theme that I can explore, But yeah, it's nice when something comes to you spontaneously.
Who's the best improver on set? You've named
Oh,
come
get
up
out.
unanimously.
Yay.
You win the award.
Awesome.
So what's the experience like, having a director that really trusts you to just go, not call cut? And
Oh my God, it's a blessing, man. I mean, when you have directors of the magnitude of Mark Mylod, who loves actors, who loves creativity, you get this safe space where you can fail, man. That's what you want to be as an artist. Be allowed to fail. Let me try anything. It may not work. It may be genius, but that's the only way you're going to get the best out of me.
Yeah. So both you and Rafe have acting experience, not just in front of a camera, but just being on stage, where you're uninterrupted for, hours. Like, was that maybe sensation or experience recreated at all on set?
That's a great question, because it was. Because we're all on stage all the time. Sometimes you're not on, but you're being seen. So you had to maintain. It's like you were in a play. You had to stay in character no matter what, because it might cut to you next. They might see you in the background. So it was a lot of pressure. It was a lot of work, but it was fun.
Yeah. So I was speaking to the writers, and they were kind of complaining that they just got to eat the craft service food. Well, you guys actually had the menu, fine dining experience.
But come on, you couldn't eat it most of it because it had shellac on it.
Oh, okay.
She was making it look beautiful, but it was already cold.
So there's more to the story than I've been led to believe.
Some of it was really good though, but then she didn't have enough because I would eat all the steaks. She goes, "You got to stop eating the props." I go, "But I have to eat it on camera because I started eating. I was lying. I was just hungry." But now she had to constantly make steak for me, and it was so good.
You got to stop eating the props is one of the greatest notes I think I've ever heard.